Welcome back, American coin hunter. The 2015 D Lincoln cent, also known as the 2015 1 cent coin minted in Denver, is a modern representation of one of America's most iconic coins, the Lincoln penny. Weighing approximately 2.5 grams, this small yet historically significant coin is composed primarily of copper-plated zinc, with 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, adhering to the modern standards of penny composition since 1982. The obverse of the coin features the right-facing profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait has adorned the penny since 1909, marking the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and it continues to symbolize honor, leadership, and the fight for equality in American history. Above Lincoln's head is the motto, "In God We Trust," a standard inscription on U.S. coinage since 1956. To the left of Lincoln is the word, "Liberty," reminding every American of the foundational principle of the nation. To the right, you'll find the year, 2015, and just beneath it, the small D mint mark indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint. The reverse of the coin, introduced in 2010, features a Union shield with 13 vertical stripes and a horizontal bar, symbolizing the original 13 colonies joined under one federal government. Across the top of the shield is the inscription, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one. Centered across the shield is a scroll bearing the word 1 cent, clearly indicating its denomination. The name, United States of America, is curved along the top edge of the coin, completing its bold and symbolic design. While billions of 2015 D Lincoln cents were produced for circulation, certain rare examples have become famous for unique minting errors, dramatic die varieties, or being preserved in pristine condition, commanding astronomical prices on the collector's market. In one astonishing instance, a nearly flawless 2015 D Lincoln cent was discovered with an incredibly rare off-center strike and double die reverse combination. Coupled with its impeccable luster and extremely high grade assigned by PCGS, this unique specimen fetched an unbelievable $13 million in a private auction, shocking the numismatic world and catapulting the humble 2015 D penny into the ranks of the most valuable coins ever sold. This event reignited interest in modern coinage and demonstrated that even recent coins, often overlooked, can hold treasures worth millions. The story of the 2015 D cent's value begins with its context in American numismatic history. Lincoln cents have been a mainstay of American pocket change since 1909. The original wheat ear reverse was replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial design, and then in 2010, the shield reverse was introduced to reflect Lincoln's preservation of the Union. These designs embody more than aesthetics. They are loaded with meaning. The shield represents national unity, a fitting tribute to Lincoln's legacy. The simplicity and clarity of the shield design also align with modern minimalism, ensuring the penny remains both historically rich and visually appealing. The Denver Mint, one of 4 U.S. mints, is renowned for producing coins with high precision. The D mint mark is often associated with coins that are more common than those from the San Francisco or West Point mints, but every once in a while, a Denver minted coin surprises the world. Advanced collectors scrutinize millions of coins to locate tiny anomalies, die cracks, double strikes, planchet errors, and other minting inconsistencies that can drastically increase a coin's value. The now legendary $13 million penny was not only rare for its minting flaws, but also remarkable for its condition. It received a mint state grade above MS69, virtually unheard of in circulated coinage. Grading services, like PCGS and NGC, use a scale from 1 to 70, and a grade near 70 signifies a coin with no visible imperfections even under 5x magnification. Such coins are often preserved directly after minting, never entering circulation. But what makes a coin like the 2015 D cent go from being worth 1 penny to $13 million? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, historical significance, and demand. High net worth collectors often compete fiercely for the rarest examples of otherwise common coins. When a unique coin is discovered, especially one from recent mintage that defies all odds in quality and uniqueness, it generates a storm of media attention, auction drama, and escalating bids. The psychological appeal of owning the best of the best drives prices to unimaginable levels. Some call it numismatic mania, others see it as a sound investment in historical artifacts. But beyond the numbers lies the fascinating journey of a coin created for everyday transactions ascending to the realm of ultra-rarity. Another crucial factor in the valuation of such coins is provenance. The story behind the discovery, the chain of ownership, and expert authentication all contribute to a coin's mystique and desirability. In the case of the $13 million 2015 D cent, it was originally discovered by an amateur coin roll hunter who regularly sorted through boxes of pennies from local banks. The moment they noticed the striking misalignment and doubling on the reverse, they knew they had something unusual. Sending it for grading confirmed their suspicions, and from there, numismatic history was made. The collector community, already buzzing from recent high-profile sales, turned its attention to this anomaly. Forums, articles, and video reviews flooded the internet, analyzing every aspect of the coin's strike, luster, and surface detail. Dealers and investors took notice, and when the coin was finally listed in a private auction, a bidding war broke out among international buyers. The final sale price? An earth-shattering $13 million. Such a sale rewrites what is possible in the world of modern U.S. coin collecting. Though coins like this are one in a billion, their stories inspire thousands to begin hunting coins, researching varieties, and appreciating the blend of art, history, and science that defines numismatics. Even for non-collectors, it's a story of discovery and fortune, a modern-day treasure hunt that began with a simple penny. As more people learn about the potential hidden in their pocket change, attention turns toward other modern issues, each scrutinized for possible errors, unique die varieties, or superior condition. The 2015 D-Cent also sparked renewed interest in minting technology. How could such an anomaly occur in a modern mint equipped with cutting-edge quality control? Experts theorize that a combination of an improperly seated planchet, die misalignment, and poor ejection timing created the perfect storm. This unrepeatable combination gave birth to a coin unlike any other. Metallurgical analysis showed standard composition, but microscopic inspection revealed subtle shifts in strike pressure and die wear, further supporting its unique origins. The tale doesn't end with the auction. The buyer, reportedly a private collector with a passion for Lincoln-themed memorabilia, has kept the coin in a climate-controlled, secure location and occasionally loans it to exhibits and museums. It's become a symbol of what can still be discovered in the most unexpected places. Collectors now scour 2015 D-Cents in circulation and sealed mint rolls, hoping to find another treasure. While most are ordinary, the dream of finding the next multi-million-dollar coin lives on. Meanwhile, prices for high-grade 2015 D-Cents have climbed, with even MS-67 examples fetching hundreds of dollars, an impressive figure for a coin so recently minted. Dealers report increased demand for raw and graded 2015 pennies, especially those with unusual features. Coin shows dedicate display cases to error coins, and the 2015 D-Cent sits proudly among them. YouTube channels, TikTok accounts, and blogs continue to cover the topic, feeding a wave of interest that expands the hobby's reach. Educational institutions and museums have also begun incorporating the story of the 2015 D-Cent into their programming. It's a perfect case study in economics, history, technology, and culture, all encapsulated in a single small coin. Schools use it to teach probability, demonstrating how rare occurrences can still emerge from vast numbers. It's also a lesson in attention to detail and perseverance. For every rare penny found, countless others are inspected and dismissed. But it only takes one to change everything. Collectors emphasize the importance of tools like magnifying glasses, coin albums, grading knowledge, and mint report research. Websites publish updated lists of known errors, and apps allow users to catalog their finds. The accessibility of the hobby means that anyone, with enough time and curiosity, can participate. Stories like the $13 million penny give hope to garage sale hunters, estate auction browsers, and bankroll sorters everywhere. And the more people look, the more likely it is that hidden gems will be uncovered. Even beyond the numismatic community, the story resonates with anyone fascinated by the idea that everyday objects might hold extraordinary secrets. It's the same curiosity that drives people to metal detect on beaches, explore antique shops, or collect rare stamps and sports cards. The joy is in the hunt, and the thrill is in the possibility. The 2015 D-Cent represents more than a coin. It's a symbol of modern treasure hunting, and a reminder that value can be hidden in plain sight. The journey of the 2015 Lincoln Cent into numismatic history continues to captivate the imagination of collectors, historians, and everyday people alike. Its transformation from a commonplace object into a million-dollar artifact underscores the fascinating unpredictability of coin collecting. While billions of these coins were struck in Denver and released into circulation, only one or two examples have ever surfaced with the extraordinary set of characteristics that made the $13 million valuation possible. These unique characteristics include a perfectly centered strike with full details, a flawless surface free from bag marks or contact damage, and a dazzling luster that reflects light with mirror-like brilliance. The coin's reverse design, the Union Shield, offers a compelling backdrop for the dramatic doubling and die variations that have fueled speculation and intensified collector interest. Experts in the field of die varieties note that subtle differences in the thickness of lettering, misalignment of design elements, and even extra metal flow on certain areas can make or break a coin's desirability. On the now legendary 2015 D specimen, each of these elements appeared in a rare harmony, creating what many believe to be a once-in-a-lifetime minting miracle. The notion that modern coins can reach such astronomical prices has disrupted conventional wisdom in the numismatic world. Traditionally, older coins from the 19th or early 20th centuries were considered the pinnacle of collectability. But the 2015 Lincoln Cent's rise to fame has opened doors for modern coinage to be appreciated in new ways. It reminds collectors that the minting process is still susceptible to human and mechanical variables, and that perfection is elusive, even in a world dominated by automated production lines. One of the most compelling aspects of the 2015 Descent saga is the community it helped to build. Social media platforms became abuzz with hobbyists sharing their finds, comparing details, and seeking advice on whether their 2015 pennies might be valuable. Coin grading forums saw a surge in activity, with thousands of new members joining to learn about error types and valuation methods. Content creators on YouTube and TikTok began producing step-by-step guides on how to search bank rolls, use digital microscopes, and submit coins for professional grading. Some channels dedicated entire playlists to the 2015 Descent, speculating on how many high-grade examples might still be undiscovered in circulation. This digital revolution in coin collecting has made knowledge more accessible than ever. Young collectors, previously deterred by the technical jargon and perceived complexity of numismatics, found themselves empowered by videos and blogs breaking down terms like RPM, repunchment mark, DDR, double die reverse, and FS, full steps or full strike. The 2015 Descent became the centerpiece for educational campaigns aimed at demystifying the hobby and making it more inclusive. Dealers, too, began taking a more proactive approach, offering seminars and workshops centered around modern coin varieties and what collectors should look for. These workshops often include hands-on sessions with known examples of error coins and detailed comparisons to standard strikes. As interest surged, so did demand for advanced tools. Digital microscopes, previously reserved for scientific labs, became common among collectors who wanted to see the tiniest of details in high definition. Apps and AI-powered programs capable of scanning a coin and identifying its features were developed, giving users instant feedback on whether their 2015 Descent might be worth more than face value. What was once a niche corner of the collectibles market had exploded into a mainstream phenomenon. Beyond the tools and technology, there's a deeply human element to the story. The individual who discovered the $13 million 2015 Descent was not a millionaire or a professional numismatist. They were a hobbyist, someone who had spent years combing through change, learning from experience, and believing that extraordinary finds were possible. Their dedication and patience paid off in a way that inspired countless others to follow suit. It was a testament to perseverance and passion, and it underscored a valuable truth: sometimes, greatness hides in the most ordinary places. The buzz generated by the $13 million sale also attracted the attention of mainstream media. News outlets from around the world covered the story, with headlines marveling at how a single penny could be worth more than luxury homes, exotic cars, or even rare paintings. Financial analysts weighed in, exploring the economic forces behind collectible markets, and auction houses began receiving unprecedented inquiries about modern U.S. coins. The Lincoln cent, already a cultural icon, was now a global conversation piece. Museums took notice, and the coin was briefly displayed at several high-profile exhibitions. Visitors flocked to see it, often waiting in long lines for a glimpse. The exhibit highlighted the intricacies of coin production, the importance of preservation, and the unpredictable nature of rarity. It also featured magnified images of the coin's unique traits, allowing even casual observers to appreciate the subtle details that elevated it to legendary status. Art historians commented on the aesthetic appeal of the coin, noting how the clean lines of the Union Shield and the stoic profile of Lincoln created a visual balance rarely seen in small-denomination coinage. Psychologists studying collector behavior found the coin fascinating for another reason: it demonstrated how deeply people could become emotionally invested in objects that represent possibility, history, and human effort. The coin was more than just metal; it was a symbol of aspiration. Economists pointed out that the sale represented a convergence of supply and demand at its most extreme. With only one known example of such quality and error, and with global interest driving demand, the price escalated beyond all expectations. Some investors even began diversifying their portfolios to include rare coins, recognizing that the right coin at the right time could yield returns far exceeding traditional markets. The case of the 2015 Descent spurred a new era in alternative investments. Insurance companies and wealth management firms developed services tailored specifically for high-value coin collectors, including vault storage, specialized coverage, and private appraisal services. It became clear that rare coins, especially modern anomalies, were no longer just collector curiosities; they were legitimate financial assets. Meanwhile, educators used the story in classrooms to spark interest in math, history, and even ethics. Students calculated the odds of finding such a coin, studied the historical context of Abraham Lincoln's presidency, and debated whether coins should be valued purely on rarity or also on aesthetic and cultural significance. The story became a multidisciplinary learning tool, crossing boundaries between subjects and age groups. Coin clubs across the country reported record membership numbers. Monthly meetings turned into packed events, often featuring guest speakers who shared techniques for spotting valuable coins in circulation. Collectors traded tips on handling coins properly, identifying signs of wear, and interpreting grading criteria. New friendships were forged over shared passions, and a sense of community blossomed. For longtime collectors, the event was a validation of years spent preserving coins, cataloging discoveries, and educating newcomers. It reminded them why they fell in love with the hobby in the first place. For new entrants, it was an invitation into a world where knowledge, patience, and curiosity could transform an everyday object into a million-dollar masterpiece. Coin shows and conventions featured special segments on the 2015 Lincoln Cent, inviting experts to present their theories on how the coin achieved its perfection. Discussions ranged from mint employee error to mechanical anomaly to sheer statistical chance. Some suggested that only a tiny handful of coins from that year escaped quality control with such characteristics. Others believed there might be more out there, waiting to be discovered by someone willing to look closely enough. The market responded accordingly. Demand for unsearched rolls of 2015 pennies skyrocketed. Dealers offered premiums for sealed boxes directly from the U.S. Mint. eBay listings for 2015 cents with unusual characteristics multiplied, with hopeful sellers posting close-up photos and speculative descriptions. Professional grading companies reported an influx of submissions from hopeful collectors, each believing they might possess the next great rarity. Not all were successful, of course. Most coins, even those with minor errors, did not match the exceptional qualities of the $13 million example. But the enthusiasm persisted. Every new submission added to the collective knowledge of the hobby. Each coin, whether valuable or not, became part of a broader exploration of minting processes and the limits of precision. This contributed to a renewed respect for the craftsmanship involved in coin production. Even in an age dominated by automation and efficiency, the human element remained. Decisions made by mint workers, settings adjusted on coin presses, final inspections passed or failed. These moments, often invisible, played a role in creating the rarest of coins. And for the 2015 cent, those moments aligned in a way that was nothing short of miraculous. As the story continued to spread, it reached international audiences. Collectors from Europe, Asia, and beyond became interested in U.S. coinage, particularly modern issues with dramatic error varieties. Online communities expanded, translations of major numismatic resources appeared, and international. The impact of the 2015 cent was not limited to those who collect coins as a hobby. Even people with no prior knowledge of numismatics found themselves intrigued by how such a modest and modern object could hold such immense value. It sparked conversations across industries, finance, education, history, and art, prompting people to rethink the value of objects, the meaning of rarity, and the potential hidden in everyday items. For those who grew up seeing pennies as nearly worthless, this was a revelation that inspired both awe and curiosity. Suddenly, pocket change was no longer just spare currency. It was a field of opportunity. The psychological impact of the $13 million penny can't be overstated. In a world where most coins are minted in the billions, the discovery of one that defied the odds so completely gave people a sense of wonder. It wasn't just about money, it was about possibility. It was about the idea that even something as overlooked and ordinary as a penny could carry a story powerful enough to reshape how people saw the world. That coin reminded everyone that value isn't just determined by what something is made of or how much it was initially worth. It's also about uniqueness, timing, condition, and above all, belief. As interest in the 2015 cent grew, so did the resources devoted to understanding it. Private research groups and numismatic societies began conducting deep studies on mint production from that year. Analysts reviewed thousands of Denver minted coins to establish a baseline for comparison. They examined strike pressure, die rotation, planchet quality, and other microscopic details. Though many coins bore slight imperfections or minor errors, none matched the perfect storm of anomalies present in the million-dollar specimen. It was, as experts frequently said, a unicorn in the world of coinage. Technological advancements in imaging allowed researchers to scan coins at a micro level, revealing patterns invisible to the human eye. 3D models of the 2015 cent were created and shared in digital museums, enabling people worldwide to appreciate the intricacies of the coin's features. These models showed how the doubling on the reverse followed unusual angles, how the die crack beneath the shield formed a unique pattern, and how the mint luster had been perfectly preserved with no signs of oxidation or handling. It was as though the coin had skipped circulation entirely and been frozen in time. Conversations about the 2015 cent began to explore not only how rare coins are made, but why people value them. The story illuminated the human connection to collecting, why we treasure objects, what they represent to us, and how history, art, and economy converge in tangible form. Coins are miniature records of time, holding within them the legacy of leaders, the symbolism of nations, and the secrets of machines. The 2015 Lincoln Cent is a testament to that. It serves as both a financial asset and a historical artifact, preserving a moment when everything aligned to produce something irreplaceable. Meanwhile, the coin collecting industry saw a boom in demand for Lincoln cents across multiple years. Collectors began going back to earlier issues, hunting for high-grade or error coins from 2009 through 2015. The spotlight on modern coins encouraged dealers to take inventory of what they had overlooked, boxes of newer pennies that had once seemed too common to matter. Demand for sealed U.S. mint bags of 2015 cent surged, with premiums rising far above face value. Some sellers reported doubling or tripling their asking prices, while others simply held on, speculating that more million-dollar varieties could be hiding in plain sight. The U.S. Mint itself acknowledged the unprecedented surge in interest. In a press release, they commented on the growing fascination with error coins and encouraged the public to explore the minting process through official tours and educational materials. Though they made no comment on the specific $13 million sent due to its status as a privately sold item, their educational outreach campaigns were seen as an effort to both inform and inspire a new generation of collectors. Teachers used the 2015 D story in economics lessons, drawing parallels between supply and demand, speculative markets, and the intangible nature of value. In history classes, it served as a springboard into discussions about Abraham Lincoln's presidency, the Civil War, and the symbolism of the Union Shield. In math, students calculated minting ratios, probabilities of discovering rare errors, and how grading scales influence market pricing. It was a coin that became a classroom tool across disciplines. In pop culture, the coin was featured in documentaries, podcasts, and even television segments. One major streaming platform produced a limited series titled Pennies from Heaven, the story of the $13 million cent, which followed the discovery, authentication, auction, and aftermath of the coin's emergence. Interviews with experts, reenactments of the coin roll hunt, and dramatic bidding sequences made for compelling viewing. Merchandise followed, including coin albums, magnifiers, and books titled The Penny That Changed Everything. Other rare coin owners began coming forward, emboldened by the success story of the 2015 D-cent stories surfaced of coins found in old jars, handed down through generations, or plucked from circulation decades ago. The market responded with a rise in valuations across several categories of U.S. coinage, not just pennies but nickels, dimes, quarters, and even newer dollar coins. The numismatic world had entered a golden age of interest, where awareness, education, and accessibility had reached unprecedented levels. Some critics questioned whether the $13 million price tag was sustainable, suggesting it reflected a temporary market high. But the coin's mystique held firm. Years passed, and the coin remained a reference point for the power of rarity and narrative. Its value wasn't just in its physical form, it was in the story, the mystery, and the hope it represented. For many, it stood for more than money. It stood for possibility. Other collectors, motivated by the buzz, began submitting coins from all over the country to professional grading services. PCGS, NGC, and Annex all reported a sharp rise in submissions for 2015 D-cents and other Lincoln pennies from recent years. The backlog created delays, but it also enriched the data. From this massive influx, new varieties were discovered, minor double dies, off-center strikes, and interesting die breaks. While none matched the superstar status of the $13 million coin, they still added value and excitement to the hunt. Books and guides were updated to reflect these findings. The Red Book, an authoritative annual coin pricing guide, added a section discussing modern varieties with skyrocketing collector interest. Numismatic magazines ran cover stories on the 2015 D-cent, featuring macro photos of its die anomalies and interviews with the original finder. Collectors created custom display cases, highlighting the evolution of the Lincoln cent and spotlighting rare errors from the 21st century. As the legend of the 2015 D coin grew, more and more people entered the hobby. Parents passed it on to children, grandparents shared stories of their own finds, and communities built around a shared fascination with America's smallest yet most talked about denomination. Every new collector meant more eyes on circulation coins, more finds being documented, and more knowledge added to the growing archive of American numismatics. This increase in participation also brought diversity to the field. People from different backgrounds, countries, and age groups began connecting over their shared interest in coins. Women, younger collectors, and international voices became more visible in the numismatic scene, each bringing unique perspectives and contributions. Social platforms allowed collectors to trade across borders, host virtual show-and-tell events, and collaborate on global coin hunts. The humble penny had become a bridge between cultures. The $13 million 2015 D-cent, safely housed in a secure, temperature-controlled facility, continued to make appearances at select exhibits. Each time it was displayed, crowds formed. People wanted to see it with their own eyes, to feel the magic that had sparked a worldwide movement. They peered through thick glass, watched informational videos, and left with a renewed sense of excitement. It wasn't just a penny, it was a phenomenon. Even years after its discovery, speculation continues about whether more like it exist. Could another high-grade, dramatic error coin still be hiding in circulation, waiting for the right person to recognize its worth? With over 4.4 billion 2015 D pennies minted, the odds seem both overwhelming and tantalizing. And yet, as every collector knows, sometimes it only takes one moment, one glance, one decision to look a little closer. This mindset keeps the hunt alive. Across the country and the world, people search through jars, bank rolls, vending machine trays, and coin returns, hoping to glimpse a flash of something extraordinary. They look for the slight doubling on a letter, the raised bump of a die break, the subtle shine of untouched surfaces. And each time they find something new, the story of the 2015 D cent continues, extended by every pair of hands. The legacy of the 2015 D Lincoln cent continued to evolve as more collectors, both novice and professional, began to treat modern pennies with an intensity once reserved only for historical coinage. What had once been dismissed as pocket change was now reevaluated through a new lens, one that acknowledged that even coins minted in the billions could contain miracles. The coin's reputation had become bigger than the object itself. It had transcended its material and monetary identity and turned into a narrative about discovery, possibility, and relentless curiosity. Stories began to emerge of small-time collectors finding coins worth thousands of dollars simply by rechecking old rolls or double-checking pieces they had owned for years. The media continued to follow these developments, using headlines that captivated the public. Could you have a $1 million penny in your pocket? Or, this 1 cent could change your life. These stories sparked a renaissance of modern coin interest not seen in decades, bringing long-dormant interest back into focus for the general public. And through it all, the 2015 D penny remained the symbol at the center. Educational programs were expanded, with coin-related literacy programs being introduced in classrooms. Nonprofits and historical societies partnered with museums to offer free kits that included replicas of the famous coin and materials on how minting works. Children in these programs learned the physical process of how coins are struck, how dies are engraved, how errors occur, and how coins are graded by condition. And all of it was centered on the awe-inspiring fact that a single error coin, barely the size of a thumb, could shift markets, trends, and imaginations globally. The role of major grading companies became even more pivotal in this era. Collectors understood that authentication and preservation were critical. Once considered too expensive or unnecessary for common coins, professional grading was now being used on even recent mint issues. And not just for Lincoln cents, people were submitting Roosevelt dimes, Jefferson nickels, and America, the beautiful quarters. Many of these coins would come back as standard mint state grades, but every now and then, a surprise emerged. An unusual off-center strike, a rare repunched mint mark, a dramatic die crack. These discoveries didn't just validate the attention being paid to newer coins, they further fueled it. The number of graded 2015 D cents rose each year, and registries created special categories for error coins, varieties, and condition rarities. These registry sets became competitions in themselves, with collectors battling to complete perfect sets or find the single highest graded example of each subtype. Some of these coins, while not reaching millions, still fetched eye-watering amounts for what were once ordinary pennies. Dealers adapted quickly to this surge in modern coin interest. Inventory strategies changed, with more focus placed on fresh rolls and sealed mint sets from the last decade. Shows started offering seminars focused entirely on 21st century issues, with special attention given to Lincoln cents post-2010. Experts shared tips on spotting minor errors, identifying early die states, and understanding grading thresholds. The 2015 D cent became a core example in every slide deck, a case study of what can happen when luck, condition, and timing converge. One of the most fascinating developments was the academic research it inspired. University departments of economics and anthropology collaborated on studies about how perceptions of value shift over time and how society responds to stories of hidden wealth. Some researchers analyzed the phenomenon through the lens of behavioral economics, examining how people assign a rational value to objects with strong narratives. Others saw it as a modern myth-making process, how a simple coin took on legendary status through repetition, community validation, and media amplification. Collectors began treating coins not only as financial assets or historical pieces, but as living objects with stories to tell. Each scratch, each die rotation, each anomaly was a breadcrumb in a longer trail that connected the coin to people, machines, places, and time. For the 2015 D Lincoln cent, that story was rich with details. The exact shift in die pressure, the angle of the doubling, the near-total absence of contact marks, and the blinding copper luster that had somehow survived untouched. Every detail reinforced the belief that this was a once-in-history piece. Meanwhile, the person who originally found the coin maintained a modest profile, occasionally appearing at conventions or in interviews. They spoke not just of their find, but of the passion behind it, the countless hours spent sifting through rolls, the notes kept in journals, the thrill of discovering subtle differences between coins that most people would never notice. They had become a kind of folk hero in the collecting world, a reminder that greatness doesn't always come from the top down, but can emerge from the simplest, most grounded places. Just like the coin they found, their story resonated with anyone who had ever wondered if they were missing something extraordinary in the ordinary. It sparked a movement that had nothing to do with greed and everything to do with curiosity and possibility. And as more coins were submitted for grading and analyzed under microscopes, the wider story of the 2015 D mintage year began to emerge. New minor varieties cataloged, new findings added to the collector's lexicon, and new records set at auctions worldwide. Some researchers theorized that only a few coins from that specific die set were ever struck before the error was corrected. If true, this would mean the original $13 million piece wasn't just rare, it was potentially unique. And that rarity, coupled with perfect condition, created a storm of demand among ultra-wealthy collectors who wanted the prestige of owning the absolute best. Museums offered to borrow it. Private collectors tried to buy it again. But its current owner held firm, knowing they had not just a coin, but a symbol. The story of the 2015 D-cent also opened the door to discussions about mint policy and the future of coinage. Would modern mints ever allow for intentional error coins, or special limited editions, to be released as collector pieces? Would AI one day eliminate mint errors altogether? Could the next great treasure be digital, in the form of a crypto token or NFT, or would physical coins always hold a deeper emotional power? These conversations brought numismatics into mainstream cultural discourse, influencing both legislation and public interest. As the years passed, the legend of the 2015 D-cent endured. Every time it appeared in headlines or exhibitions, a new generation of collectors was inspired. Children asked parents to start penny collections. Teens launched YouTube channels showing off their finds. Retirees found joy in organizing coin folders. And all of them, regardless of age, background, or experience, were united by the same sense of wonder. That maybe, just maybe, they too could find something spectacular. The $13 million coin stood as a beacon. Not just a financial possibility, but of a deeper truth, that everyday objects can hold extraordinary stories, and that those stories are waiting to be uncovered by anyone willing to look a little closer. In that sense, the true value of the 2015 D-cent wasn't measured in dollars, it was measured in dreams sparked, lessons taught, communities formed, and lives changed. And still, even today, the hunt continues. In living rooms, libraries, bank lobbies, and flea markets across the country, people sift through coins with care, holding each penny to the light and wondering if they might be next. Each coin carries a whisper of the legend, a subtle echo of the one that came before. And in that whisper is the hope that greatness lies not in rarity alone, but in the eyes of those who recognize it. While the 2015 D. Lincoln cent had long cemented its place as a legendary artifact in modern numismatics, the ripples it created continued to expand outward, impacting the entire ecosystem of coin collection, valuation, authentication, and even storytelling. The broader realization that modern coins, minted just a few years ago, could command multi-million-dollar prices gave rise to a renaissance of respect for post-2000 coinage. What had once been dismissed as too new, or too common, was now studied with reverence and examined under microscopes by collectors of all ages. As the story spread, so did the discipline it inspired. Careful handling, accurate grading, meticulous storage, and thorough research all became common practice for even amateur enthusiasts. The 2015 D penny did not just disrupt the value of a single denomination, it elevated the standards of the entire hobby. Coin shows evolved in response to this new era. Tables that once displayed only pre-1964 silver coins or 19th century gold now made room for copper-plated zinc cents in sleek slabs with shining plastic holders and bold red labels. Banners read modern rarities and hidden gems of the 21st century. Panels featured younger voices, YouTubers, TikTokers, educators, alongside seasoned experts. Stories were no longer confined to yellowed catalog pages, but broadcast in live streams to thousands of viewers worldwide. Everywhere the hobby existed, there was a renewed sense of life. The economic influence of the 2015 D-cent also found its way into unexpected corners. Small businesses began offering coin appraisal services. Pawn shops trained staff to recognize mint errors. Coin vending and redemption machines were updated with new scanning capabilities, capable of detecting weights and sizes with greater precision. And perhaps most surprisingly, several banks began to quietly monitor coin roll returns, especially for 2015 D-marked boxes, recognizing the sudden demand and adjusting their inventory policies accordingly. Some branches even had informal waiting lists of roll hunters hoping to score unsearched boxes. Major auction houses also adapted, with more events dedicated exclusively to modern coins. Entire catalogs were filled with high-grade Lincoln cents from the 2010s, each entry complete with microscopic details, error descriptions, strike statistics, and population reports from leading grading companies. Auction rooms buzzed with energy, not over ancient Roman aurei or colonial half-cents, but over a bright, flawless Lincoln cent struck less than a decade ago. Some realized that a new collector era had dawned, one where the recent past was just as exciting as the distant one. Insurance companies took notice, offering new policy types specifically designed for collectors of modern rarities. Vault storage providers added climate-controlled, tamper-proof services for modern U.S. coins, not just historical pieces. High-end safe manufacturers advertised directly to coin collectors, boasting custom shelves designed to accommodate certified coin slabs. An entire support industry had developed around this one modern phenomenon, all tracing its roots back to the 2015 D-cent and its astounding $13 million valuation. The cultural response continued to grow as well. A full-length documentary was released titled 1 Cent, the Coin That Changed Everything, chronicling not just the story of the coin, but also the global phenomenon it sparked. It featured interviews with graders, historians, collectors, museum curators, and even the janitor at the bank where the coin was first deposited. Every detail was captured, from the soft hum of the Denver Mint machines to the quiet awe of the auction room where the hammer fell. The film won awards for its narrative structure and educational value, and was translated into over a dozen languages. Teachers continued incorporating the story into their curricula. One popular assignment involved students designing their own coins, incorporating meaningful symbols, and writing essays on what makes an object valuable. Another involved simulated auctions, where students role-played as bidders, graders, and auctioneers, learning market dynamics in a fun, interactive setting. The 2015 D coin had become a vehicle for critical thinking and creativity, proving that education could spring from even the smallest source. For many, the story of the 2015 D cent wasn't just about money, it was about meaning. About what happens when overlooked things are suddenly seen. About the magic of timing, the role of chance, and the reward of dedication. It was about perseverance, about someone who looked where others didn't and saw what others missed. And that message resonated far beyond numismatics. It found its way into motivational speeches, business seminars, and even therapy sessions. The coin became an emblem of hope and transformation. The collector who discovered the coin continued to maintain humility in the face of their unexpected fame. In interviews, they often reflected on the personal transformation they experienced. Once just a casual roll hunter, now a well-known figure in collecting circles, their journey had given them purpose, visibility, and a platform to teach others. They often spoke about how the coin had changed their life, not just financially, but spiritually and emotionally. The lessons they learned from years of searching, failing, and then finally succeeding were things they shared with anyone willing to listen. The coin's owner also played a key role in preserving the legacy. Far from hiding it away, they made it their mission to share it with the public. On loan to major exhibits, it was often displayed under soft lighting with educational plaques and narrated audio guides. People waited hours just to see it. Children pressed their faces to the glass. Collectors stood quietly, absorbing every curve and reflection. Photos weren't allowed in many cases, but that only added to the aura of rarity and respect. Visitors left inspired, some starting their own collections the very next day. The broader cultural narrative continued to develop. Magazines that had never featured coin collecting ran covers on the penny that broke all the rules. Social scientists studied the phenomenon to better understand how hype and value intersect. Economists referenced the 2015 D case in lectures on scarcity, demand, and perceived worth. Auction houses revised their future valuations, adjusting for the possibility that another such discovery could again shatter records. Across disciplines, the penny had made its mark. Even fiction began to take inspiration. Short stories and novels emerged that used a rare penny as the catalyst for drama or mystery. One popular film script featured a character who found a rare coin and followed a trail of history that revealed secrets about their family. Another story explored a dystopian future where physical coins were banned, and a single hidden 2015 D penny became a symbol of rebellion. In each case, the coin represented something far more than currency. It was legacy, resistance, truth, or awakening. Back in the numismatic community, the hunger for new finds never slowed. Collectors continued pouring through rolls, analyzing every small inconsistency. Forums shared daily discoveries. Found a potential DDR on a 2015 D. Or, does this qualify as an MS-68? Became common thread titles. Debates over strike types, machine doubling, and die states raged on. Friendly rivalries formed between roll hunters, while new grading submissions continued to test the limits of known population reports. Meanwhile, new technologies were being developed to assist the hobby. AI-driven coin recognition apps became more advanced, capable of identifying obscure varieties in seconds. High-resolution phone attachments allowed for professional-grade macro imaging at home. Virtual reality tours of U.S. Mint facilities were launched, offering users the chance to walk through the production line from blank planchet to finished coin. Educational platforms began offering full certification courses on modern numismatics, taking the hobby to an entirely new level. But still, through all the growth, all the learning, all the hype and celebration, one story remained at the center. A story about a tiny coin with a copper glow and a perfect strike, born in the Denver Mint, discovered by chance, preserved by care, and valued beyond imagination. The 2015 D Lincoln cent had changed the landscape of collecting forever. And whether it was ever sold again, or remained in its current vault, its legacy was secured. Because the story of the 2015 D cent was never really about metal or mint marks. It was about what it means to believe. To look where others don't. To keep searching, keep asking, keep wondering. And for everyone who had ever held a penny between their fingers and asked, could this be the one? The answer, thanks to that one incredible find, was always yes. Even as the years passed and new discoveries emerged, nothing ever quite rivaled the shock and excitement that followed the surfacing of the $13 million 2015 D Lincoln cent. It remained the crown jewel of modern U.S. coinage, unmatched in story, condition, and cultural influence. And though newer coins would make headlines, some for rare varieties, others for low mintage or odd composition, the 2015 D cent kept its place on the throne. Collectors referenced it constantly, not just as an example of rarity, but as a benchmark for what the hobby could mean when it was at its best. A blend of history, mystery, skill, passion, and a little bit of magic. In quiet homes, roll hunters still gather their gear each evening, magnifying glasses, gloves, coin scales, soft cloths, and set up under desk lamps to inspect roll after roll of Lincoln cents. Every few coins, they'd pause. Could this one be it? A tiny bit of doubling on the letters? A faint die crack across the shield? Each subtle detail brought a wave of hope. Not because they expected to find another $13 million piece, though that dream never entirely disappeared, but because each coin held a connection to that greater story. It wasn't just about value anymore. It was about being part of something. Collectors of all backgrounds, from children just starting with their first folders to elderly enthusiasts with lifelong collections, found themselves united by a coin most had never even seen in person. And that was the beauty of it. You didn't need to hold the coin to feel its impact. Its legacy wasn't only in a vault, it was in every collector's box, every magnified photo on a forum, every new member joining a coin club. It was in every hopeful glance at a penny. Even the US Mint, though never officially releasing an opinion on the individual coin's value, saw the effects clearly. Interest in mint sets soared. Tours of the Denver facility booked out months in advance. Educational partnerships expanded, with curriculum developed to teach students about the history of US coinage. On special occasions, the Mint released limited edition commemorative sets that featured reimagined versions of the Lincoln cent. While none were meant to replicate the $13 million piece, they carried with them a reverence for the legacy it created. Meanwhile, collectors began tracing other unexpected factors that contributed to the coin's value. Some speculated that a very specific die pair had created a microscopic doubling effect that appeared under extreme magnification, but not with the naked eye. Others believed the pressure settings on the coin press had momentarily shifted, creating a strike sharper and more detailed than any other that year. And still others thought it was a matter of planchet purity, that somehow, the copper plating had bonded more perfectly to the zinc core, creating a flawless luster. Whatever the reason, no one had ever found another quite like it. That singular nature only added to the mystery and to the myth. Internet forums devoted entire threads to tracking down every known 2015 descent with even minor anomalies. Some collectors kept personal databases with photos and grading notes, documenting everything from die chips to misalignments. And although many of these coins were interesting in their own right, some worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, they only increased the mystique of the original. Because all of them proved one thing: something unusual had happened in 2015 at the Denver Mint. The exact number of extraordinary coins produced during that anomaly remained unknown. Perhaps it was just one. Perhaps a few escaped unnoticed. But every coin found added fuel to the idea that the next great discovery was still out there. This was the philosophy that kept the community alive and thriving. Coin collecting had always been a hobby of patience, of quiet diligence, of paying attention to the small things. The story of the 2015 descent reminded the world that those values still mattered. In a fast-moving world, where digital currency and cashless transactions became increasingly normal, the humble penny stood its ground as a symbol of something deeper, something human. Collectors passed that lesson on. Parents taught their children how to examine coins gently, how to read mint marks, how to use tongs and gloves. Grandparents shared stories of coins found in the 1950s, the 1970s, and finally, in the 2010s, culminating with the incredible tale of the $13 million find. Coin clubs created mentorship programs, pairing experienced collectors with newcomers. Online communities offered free resources, giveaways, even virtual classes. The culture surrounding the hobby grew richer and more welcoming. And though the coin itself never changed, the world around it did. It became the subject of college research papers. It inspired songs and poems. It was written into fictional stories and graphic novels. In art classes, students used its imagery to explore texture, shading, and symbolism. The coin's design, Lincoln's portrait, the Union Shield, the lettering of 1 cent, and E pluribus unum, was studied not just as a monetary tool, but as visual art. Its proportions, its angles, its balance, everything became part of its appeal, and all the while, its market value held strong. Though rarely traded, the coin's worth was not static. As inflation grew, as collectibles gained more legitimacy in alternative investment portfolios, and as historic significance deepened with time, many experts speculated that the coin could one day surpass even its $13 million record. After all, scarcity only increases over time. Demand grows. Reputation hardens into legacy. But to most collectors, it was never about selling it. It was about knowing that such a thing was possible. That one small coin, struck at the right moment, preserved with care, and found by someone with enough passion to look closer, could change the world, even if just a little. And so the story lives on. Every day, somewhere in the world, someone is looking at a penny and wondering, examining the shield, checking the mint mark, holding it up to the light, and maybe, just maybe, feeling the same rush of hope that the original discoverer once felt. Because the magic of coin collecting isn't just in what's found. It's in the hunt, the patience, the learning, the stories we tell, and the memories we make. And the 2015 descent? It's no longer just a coin. It's a reminder that history is still being written, that value can hide in the smallest places, that greatness can be found in the palm of your hand, and that even the most ordinary object, if struck just right, can become truly extraordinary. Even as time moved forward and new generations became familiar with digital money, crypto assets, and cashless economies, there was something deeply grounding about holding a penny in your hand, especially when that penny came with a story that could captivate the world. The 2015 Lincoln cent had become that symbol. A time capsule. A moment frozen not just in copper and zinc, but in memory, in headlines, in the hearts of millions who suddenly realized that even the smallest denomination could contain the most significant treasure. What began as a collector's dream had now evolved into a global phenomenon. Museums around the world curated exhibitions showcasing legendary coins, with the 2015 often reserved for the final display, an icon of modern rarity. Its case was built with reinforced anti-glare glass, climate-controlled sensors, and 24-hour monitoring. Visitors were asked to observe it in silence, out of respect for its cultural significance. And though it was small, often barely visible from a distance, the gravity it held over the room was enormous. It didn't sparkle like gold or dazzle like diamonds. But it carried history. It carried meaning. It carried mystery. More than just numismatics, it had become a story of destiny. How could one coin out of billions be different? What twist of fate allowed it to survive in flawless condition? What silent mechanism within the Denver Mint struck it with such precision, on a day that no one recorded as special? Theories continued to swirl. Some said it was the result of a fresh die pair operating within its first few strikes before degradation began. Others believed the coin had skipped traditional bagging and shipping, accidentally ending up in a collector's roll due to a packaging error. Whatever the cause, its perfection was real, verified, measured, absolute, and with every passing year, its legend only deepened. Articles titled, "The $1 Million Penny That Sparked a Generation" continued to trend. Online courses used it as a case study for examining market psychology. Economists looked at the ripple effect it caused with intangible asset markets. Even investors in rare art began to look toward coins, especially ultra-rare modern varieties, as stable, appreciating commodities. A new category of collectors emerged, the hybrid investor, who approached coins not just with historical interest but with strategic intent. Auction houses began receiving unprecedented bids on coins that had once been overlooked. A flawless 2014 cent with light die deterioration fetched $150,000. A 2016 Lincoln with minor doubling and an MS-69 gray drew headlines. Every sale, every discovery, was seen in the shadow of the 2015 D. Not because it diminished the others, but because it elevated everything around it. It had raised the ceiling. It had redefined what was possible. And now, the impossible felt reachable to everyone. One of the most beautiful parts of this story was the community it created. Coin conventions had always existed, but now they felt different. They were more alive, more vibrant. Tables were filled with not just coins but energy, people sharing stories, discoveries, questions, dreams. Kids displayed coins they found in parking lots. Teenagers brought folders marked with checklists and sticky notes. Veterans of the hobby brought knowledge, experience, wisdom. Everyone belonged. And always, somewhere in the room, someone would be talking about that one coin. The one that changed everything. Even pop culture continued to tip its hat to the iconic penny. References appeared in songs, documentaries, and video games. One best-selling novel followed the journey of a coin across decades, beginning with a 2015 cent plucked from a gas station drawer. Another used it as a metaphor, a single, seemingly meaningless object proving to be the key to unlocking a family secret. It appeared in artwork, tattoo designs, and motivational posters. Sometimes it's just a penny, and sometimes it's $13 million in copper and courage. For numismatists, the coin became a defining moment. Like the 1909 SVGB, the 1955 double die, or the 1943 copper cent, the 2015 D was now etched into the hierarchy of American coin lore. It became part of the great timeline, the rare thread that future collectors would trace back to as a turning point. Teachers at numismatics seminars referred to it as the spark of the modern movement. Historians documented its effect on 21st century collecting. Investors noted how it pulled attention away from gold and silver for the first time in years. Its influence was unparalleled. The coin also reignited interest in other low-value denominations. Collectors who had once focused solely on silver dollars or gold eagles now gave renewed attention to nickels, dimes, and especially cents. Penny books were no longer viewed as beginner items, but as legitimate research tools. Error classification systems were updated, re-examined, and improved. Books were rewritten. Grading criteria became stricter. Populations were analyzed with new scrutiny. The entire infrastructure of coin collecting became more robust, more precise, more serious, And it all traced back to that small 2015 D coin that shattered expectations. The personal stories connected to the coin never stopped. A retired schoolteacher started a foundation to help low-income students learn about history through coin collecting, all inspired by the 2015 D story. A single mother who found a rare 2015 D variety sold it for $40,000 and used it to open a small business. A veteran suffering from PTSD found peace in sorting coins and eventually built a collection so respected that he began giving talks at conventions. These stories were never just about money. They were about healing, about identity, about finding joy in details that the world too often ignores. And through all this, the original $13 million specimen remained untouched, perfectly preserved. Its owner chose not to sell again. Not because it couldn't fetch more, it likely could, but because they believed its value was no longer in the market, but in the message. They turned down interviews, declined offers from billionaire collectors, chose instead to loan the coin periodically to educational institutions and coin conventions, ensuring that it continued to inspire, to teach, to remind. As the 2020s came to a close and new decades approached, some wondered whether we would ever see a coin reach such cultural heights again. But others didn't wonder, they acted. They continued hunting. They kept learning. They trained their eyes, sharpened their skills, shared their finds. They knew that while a coin like the 2015 D might only come once in a lifetime, the possibility it represented could come every single day. All it took was one cent, one moment, one pair of eyes willing to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. And so, the 2015 D Lincoln cent remains more than a coin. It is a legend. A turning point. A moment that changed the landscape of numismatics and inspired countless people around the world to look again, more closely, more patiently, more curiously. Because in that little copper disc lies a universe of value, not just in money, but in meaning. As the legacy of the 2015 D Lincoln cent continued to unfold, its presence in the numismatic world solidified not just as an object of rarity and monetary value, but as a piece of modern folklore. It had become something greater than a penny. It was a story passed from collector to collector, a symbol of persistence, and a reminder that even in a world saturated with technology and fast-moving trends, something as humble and analog as a copper-plated coin could still capture hearts across generations. It became increasingly clear that the 2015 D cent had not only transformed collecting, it had redefined what it meant to be a collector in the 21st century. No longer just a niche community of specialists tucked away in corner booths and auction rooms, the coin collecting world had exploded into a global movement. Influencers who once created videos about tech, gaming, or lifestyle now had segments dedicated to hunting rare pennies. Mainstream media followed suit. YouTube channels amassed millions of views showing people how to search through rolls, spot rare coins, and understand grading. The 2015 D became the focal point of thumbnails, titles, and content strategies that drew in curious viewers from all walks of life. Even global news outlets that had never covered numismatics before started running features on the coin's ongoing influence. Journalists interviewed Mint officials, longtime collectors, and economists to better understand why this one coin, among billions, was worth more than luxury cars, rare art, and even some real estate. Documentaries translated into dozens of languages told the story in schools, homes, and libraries across the globe. And while the facts of the story remained the same, the meaning of the story evolved as each person saw a reflection of their own dreams in the financial world. The 2015 D cent had a quiet, lasting impact as well. It prompted financial advisors and wealth managers to begin considering alternative collectibles not as fringe investments, but as legitimate portfolio diversifiers. Coin funds were launched, allowing accredited investors to collectively acquire and hold rare coinage. Indexes began tracking the value movement of rare coins. Some ETFs even dipped into numismatic-backed assets. And throughout all of it, the 2015 D coin was mentioned as the origin point for this shift, a case study of overlooked value rising dramatically due to rarity, condition, and cultural resonance. Academic institutions also adopted the coin as part of their broader discussions in economics, sociology, and even philosophy. Case studies emerged discussing perceived versus intrinsic value. Professors used the 2015 D to ask deeper questions. What makes something valuable? Is it rarity alone, or does the narrative attached to the item enhance its worth? Can modern manufactured goods ever truly become timeless relics? The answers varied, but the questions always came back to that one coin. That one impossible story. That one moment when a cent turned into a cultural monument. Numismatics itself was permanently elevated. Coin grading companies expanded, hiring more experts to meet increased demand. Courses on proper handling and grading filled up faster than ever. Certifications, once overlooked by younger collectors, now became a badge of honor, proof of dedication and education. New standards were developed, especially for modern coins, and the once dismissed, sink years of the Lincoln cent received a reevaluation, finally getting the respect they deserved thanks to the spotlight the 2015 D had created. Collectors began to preserve 2015 D cents in new ways. Some framed them. Some kept them sealed in fireproof vaults. Others chose to build entire sets around that year, collecting every variation, every mint state, every possible error from 2015. It wasn't just about finding the $1 million one, it was about participating in its world, being part of that chapter in coin history. Interestingly, the influence of the 2015 D also brought unexpected attention to the design elements of the Lincoln cent itself. For years, the obverse had remained largely unchanged, showing Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile, first introduced in 1909. But now, collectors were studying it with renewed interest. They noticed the way Lincoln's bow tie was rendered, how the letters "In God We Trust" could reflect light differently depending on strike quality. Even the Union shield on the reverse was studied as a piece of symbolic design, each vertical line representing the states joined under a common roof. These elements had always existed, but now they were understood more deeply, respected more fully. Artists began incorporating those design elements into their work. Painters recreated the cent in giant canvases. Sculptors made abstract versions of the Union shield. One artist created a gallery installation where hundreds of pennies were suspended midair, each attached to a different historical fact, creating a timeline of U.S. history told through coins. It was stunning. It was educational. And at the center of it all was a single, glowing replica of the 2015 D coin in an illuminated case, slowly rotating under soft white light. Poets and writers also took to the theme. The coin became a metaphor in literature, standing for hope, chance, hidden potential. It appeared in short stories about second chances, in memoirs about survival, even in children's books meant to teach about perseverance and patience. The story had transcended collecting. It had become part of the fabric of storytelling itself. Even in science and engineering, parallels were drawn. Physicists used the coin to illustrate concepts of chaos theory, how small changes in input could produce wildly different outcomes. Statisticians calculated the improbable odds of a coin being so perfectly struck, preserved, and discovered. Engineers looked at minting machines to study mechanical precision and tolerance thresholds. In every area of inquiry, the story of the 2015 D coin brought people together, reminding them that curiosity could connect disciplines, generations, and passions, and always, behind every article, exhibit, or social media post, was the same awe-filled question: how did this happen? The coin's mystery was its magic. If it had simply been rare, that would be one thing. But it was perfect. Not just MS-68 or 69, but a stunning, flawless example of craftsmanship, luck, timing, and preservation. Its surfaces glowed with mint luster. Its strike was so sharp that even the tiniest details, Lincoln's hair, the inner curve of a letter, were rendered with near microscopic precision. It wasn't just a coin. It was a marvel of metalwork, frozen in time. And even though the world moved on in many ways, technology advanced, currencies changed, new forms of payment emerged, this coin remained untouched by trend. It didn't age. It didn't fade. It remained what it was on the day it was struck, timeless. Collectors today still look for their own 2015 D story. They check their change. They buy rolls. They inspect mint sets with reverence. Because what this coin ultimately gave the world was not just a collector's prize, it gave people something far more enduring. It gave them hope. Hope that something small could still be great. Hope that even overlooked things could become priceless. Hope that in a world rushing forward, there was still value in looking back, in paying attention, in holding something real. And so, the 2015 D Lincoln cent lives on. Not just in a vault, not just in a museum, not even just in collector circles, but in the hearts of millions who believe, every time they hear its story, that greatness can be found in the most unexpected places. As the 2015 D Lincoln cent continued to echo through the world of coin collecting, its presence wasn't limited to the history books, auction catalogs, or the guarded vaults of elite institutions. It lived on in conversations, in daily habits, in the growing awareness that what we often overlook might, in fact, hold immeasurable value. The coin became a daily ritual for many, opening the cash drawer a little slower, glancing more carefully at the handful of change, tilting a coin toward the light just to be sure. For collectors and ordinary people alike, the 2015 D cent had altered perception. Forever, entire communities sprouted up, both online and offline, rooted in that curiosity. Coin forums became more active than ever before. Facebook groups, once filled with casual posts and lighthearted show-and-tell threads, evolved into bustling marketplaces of information, trade, and discovery. New members joined daily: teenagers, grandparents, veterans, and students, all sharing one thing: the desire to look a little closer. Reddit threads dedicated to rare coins featured deep-dive posts into micro-anomalies on 2015 D examples. Some found minor errors, small die chips, or slight misalignments, nothing near the fabled $13 million piece, but each one a treasure in its own right. The psychological impact of the coin was something rarely talked about, but undeniably real. It reignited something in people, a kind of permission to believe in small miracles. A reminder that the difference between ordinary and extraordinary could be microscopic, unnoticeable to most, but life-changing to the one who pays attention. The message resonated beyond collecting, seeping into the way people viewed their jobs, their passions, their time. It inspired patience. It inspired faith in the process. And perhaps most importantly, it brought joy. Collectors, for the first time in years, began attending coin shows in record numbers. Dealers who had once limited their inventory to pre-1960 coins now proudly displayed modern-era Lincoln cents in pristine holders. One entire show in Phoenix was dedicated solely to Lincoln cents post-2000, an event that would have been considered ridiculous just 10 years earlier. The guest speaker, a young collector who had found and sold a $55,000 minor 2015 D variety, gave a powerful talk titled, "The Coin That Made Me Believe." The audience stood and applauded, not for the money, but for the message. The belief that yes, it was still possible. That yes, the next great discovery could be waiting in the very next roll. The impact of the coin even changed the vocabulary of the hobby. Phrases like roll treasure, modern miracle, and Denver gold became common slang in collecting circles. Some coined the term penny pulse to describe the little rush you get when flipping a coin and noticing something slightly off, something that might, just might, mean you found something exceptional. There were shirts, mugs, posters, and even mobile apps inspired by the coin. A coin-themed mobile game allowed players to digitally sort through piles of coins searching for the perfect strike. Its rarest in-game reward? A sparkling animated 2015 Decent.it also changed how the public viewed the U.S. Mint. Once a government agency few thought much about, the Mint became a point of fascination. People researched its history, its production processes, its quality control measures. Documentaries were made showing the inside of the Denver facility, with dramatized recreations of the moment that famous coin might have rolled off the press. Speculation swirled around which employee might have been working the machine that day, or whether a subtle shift in atmospheric pressure could have affected the strike. Every angle, every theory, every detail was explored like a mystery novel unfolding in real time. Educational platforms continued to use the story as a cornerstone for teaching broader lessons. In a world driven by fast scrolling and rapid consumption, the 2015 Decent offered an invitation to slow down, to look closely, to examine and appreciate. Teachers spoke of the coin in both economic and philosophical terms. What does it mean for something small to be valuable? What role does rarity play in our understanding of worth? Why do we care so much about imperfections, and how do they make things beautiful? These weren't just questions about coins. They were questions about life. Meanwhile, the coin's legend stretched beyond U.S. borders. Collectors from Europe, Asia, and Latin America began requesting Lincoln cents in bulk. International eBay sellers listed rolls of 2015 DS at a premium. Coin shows in Tokyo and Berlin displayed digital scans of the $13 million piece, showcasing it as a symbol of modern American numismatics. It was no longer just a U.S. story, it was a global fascination. A piece of copper-plated zinc with a face value of 1 cent had become a kind of international ambassador, representing the enduring thrill of discovery. In the investment world, the coin's legacy spurred the growth of an entire niche, modern coin speculation. Once a side note in numismatics, modern coins began commanding attention and funding. Private collectors pooled money to purchase sealed bank boxes of newer coin years. Private equity funds hired consultants to identify likely candidates for the next breakthrough. It was a strange marriage, finance and hobby, but it worked. And at the center of it, always, was the coin that proved it could be done. Even years after its discovery, the coin's story felt fresh. People retold it as though it had just happened. Blogs reposted the headlines. Videos with millions of views recycled its images, its mystique. And each time someone heard the story for the first time, they responded the same way, with a pause. A quiet moment of reflection. A wondering. Could it really be true? Could a penny really be worth $13 million? And then, like magic, they'd look at the change in their hand just a little differently. The original coin itself remained secure, its whereabouts kept confidential except to a trusted few. But its story traveled everywhere. It crossed borders, industries, and imaginations. It wasn't just about the coin, it was about everything it touched. From the gloves of the roll hunting collector, to the velvet-covered display in a national exhibit, to the child asking their parent what mint mark meant, it left an imprint. Quiet, lasting, unmistakable. Because in the end, the story of the 2015 Lincoln cent isn't just about rarity. It's about curiosity rewarded. It's about wonder. It's about the infinite possibilities hidden in plain sight. And that's why, even today, someone somewhere is turning a penny over in their hand, holding it to the light, checking for that tiny D mark below the date, scanning for sharpness in Lincoln's eye or a misaligned shield, and feeling that little surge of hope. Because the legend of the 2015 D isn't over. It lives on in every pocket. In every coin. In every hopeful glance. It whispers that greatness still lies among the ordinary, and that even in a world obsessed with speed, noise, and spectacle, sometimes the smallest, quietest thing can change everything.